Lisabi Ogunbona was born into the Egba community at a time when the shadow of the mighty Oyo Empire loomed heavily over the land. The Oyo Empire was one of the most powerful and sophisticated civilizations in West Africa, known for its cavalry, administrative system, and sprawling trade networks. However, for the people in the territories it controlled, including the Egba, this power came at a cost. The Egba people, once a proud and independent group, were reduced to vassals, forced to pay heavy tributes to the Alifin, the supreme ruler of Oyo. These tributes, collected annually, included a significant portion of their agricultural produce, livestock, and even young men and women who were taken as slaves. This system bred resentment and despair among the Egba, who yearned for the days when they were free to govern themselves. Lisabi was born into this environment of oppression and fear. His parents, Kinto and Moniki, were farmers who worked from dawn till dusk to eke out a living. They lived in Itoku, a village nestled among the rocky hills of Egba land. From a young age, Lisabi exhibited an inquisitive mind and a strong sense of justice. He would often accompany his father to the farm, asking questions about why the Oyo soldiers came to their village, why they had to give away their hard-earned produce, and why their people seemed powerless to resist. One particular incident left a deep mark on young Lisabi. It was the annual tax collection season, and the Oyo officials arrived earlier than expected. The villagers were unprepared, having just harvested their crops and stored them for the coming dry season. When the headman explained this to the collectors, they reacted with brutality. Livestock were taken, granaries were raided, and several men were beaten for protesting. Lisabi watched helplessly as his father knelt before the tax agents, pleading for mercy. The humiliation etched itself into his memory, igniting a quiet but burning resolve within him. As Lisabi grew older, he became a skilled farmer and a respected member of his community. He was known for his intelligence, strength, and a natural ability to lead. He often organized communal efforts to improve the village, such as repairing irrigation systems or building protective walls around their farmlands. His wife, Busy, was equally remarkable, a woman of great beauty, wisdom, and courage. She shared Lisabi's vision of a free Egba nation and became his closest confidant. The tipping point came when the Alifin increased the tributes yet again, citing the need to fund a new war campaign. This decision plunged the Egba people into deeper despair. Families sold their possessions and even their children to meet the demands, while others fled into the forest to escape the collectors. Lisabi realized that the time for action had come. He began to gather like-minded individuals, men and women who were tired of living under the yoke of oppression. Together, they formed a secret society called Egbi Efeledan, meaning Society of Peace. The group met in secluded locations, often under the cover of night, to discuss strategies and plan their resistance. Membership was strictly selective, and each member took an oath of loyalty to the cause. Lisabi was not just a leader but a visionary strategist. He understood that the Oyo Empire's strength lay in its ability to divide and conquer. The Egba villages were disunited, often competing with one another for resources. Lisabi worked tirelessly to forge alliances among the villages, emphasizing the importance of unity in the face of a common enemy. Alone, we are weak, he would say, but together, we are a force that cannot be broken. The rebellion began with small acts of defiance. Lisabi and his followers ambushed tax convoys, redistributing the confiscated goods among the villagers. They used guerrilla tactics, striking quickly and disappearing into the dense forest before the Oyo soldiers could retaliate. These early victories boosted morale and inspired more people to join the cause. One of Lisabi's most daring feats was the liberation of several Egba youths who had been captured and were being transported to Oyo as slaves. Using intelligence from a network of informants, Lisabi and his men intercepted the caravan, overpowering the guards and setting the captives free. This act of bravery earned him the admiration of his people and the wrath of the Oyo authorities. The Oyo Empire, alarmed by the growing rebellion, sent a large contingent of soldiers to crush the uprising. However, Lisabi had anticipated this response. He had spent months preparing the Egba villages for war, training his followers in the art of combat and fortifying key locations such as the Olumo Rock, a natural stronghold that offered both protection and a vantage point. The battle for Olumo Rock was one of the most significant events in the rebellion. The Oyo soldiers, armed with superior weaponry and numbers, launched a fierce assault on the rock. But the Egba fighters, led by Lisabi, used their intimate knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They set traps, launched surprise attacks, and used the rock's caves and narrow passages to outmaneuver their enemies. The battle raged for days, but in the end, the Egba emerged victorious. This victory marked a turning point in the rebellion. The Oyo Empire, weakened by internal conflicts and external pressures, struggled to maintain control over its territories. Meanwhile, the Egba people, united and emboldened by Lisabi's leadership, continued to resist. Over time, the Oyo grip on Egba land loosened, and the people began to reclaim their independence. Lisabi's efforts did not end with the rebellion. After the Egba people regained their freedom, he focused on rebuilding their communities and restoring their cultural heritage. He worked to establish a system of governance that emphasized justice, fairness, and unity. His leadership and vision transformed the Egba nation, laying the foundation for a prosperous and independent future. Lisabi's legacy lives on in the hearts of the Egba people and beyond. He is celebrated as a hero, the symbol of resistance, and a beacon of hope for those who fight against oppression. His story is told in songs, dances, and festivals, ensuring that future generations remember the man who fought for their freedom. Lisabi Ogunbona's story did not end with the victory and acclaim he had earned as a fearless leader in the struggle for the Egba people's independence. Though he had earned a place as one of the greatest heroes in Yoruba history, Lisabi's legacy would eventually be overshadowed by betrayal, internal conflict, and ultimately, his tragic demise. After Lisabi's remarkable resistance against the Oyo Empire, the Egba people initially experienced peace and autonomy under his leadership. His strategies and courage in battle had allowed the Egba to stand strong against the Oyo forces. However, as is often the case in the midst of power and glory, discord began to brew among those who were once his most trusted allies. Lisabi's leadership was contested by those within the Egba community who sought more control or feared his growing influence. While he had once been the unifying force for the Egba people, some felt threatened by his power. They were afraid of the concentration of power in his hands and that his authority was becoming too great. These rivals, both within his community and beyond, began conspiring against him. The betrayal came from unexpected quarters. Former comrades who had once stood beside him in battle now turned against him. Some members of the council and influential figures within Egba society began to see Lisabi as a threat to their own ambitions. These rival factions feared that Lisabi's influence would overshadow their own positions and disrupt the power dynamics within the Egba leadership. As Lisabi sought to maintain his position as a leader and continue securing the independence of the Egba, tensions grew within the community. These political tensions ultimately led to an unfortunate series of events that would alter the course of Lisabi's fate. The moment of betrayal struck when some of his closest allies, once loyal and firm in their support, sided with his enemies. Lisabi, ever the strategist, sensed that the tides were changing and sought to retreat to a place of safety. It was during this period of uncertainty and the crumbling of his power that the worst tragedy struck. Lisabi's wife, Tadebisi, was killed. Historical records are not clear on the exact circumstances of her death, but it is believed she was caught in the crossfire of the internal conflict that had engulfed the Egba leadership. Her tragic death marked a deep personal loss for Lisabi and further hardened his resolve. but it also symbolized the cost of war and the dangers of leadership. Lisabi's eventual downfall was not just the result of political rivalry, but also the emotional toll of personal loss. As the tension within the Egba continued to rise, Lisabi was eventually betrayed by those he trusted the most, and his enemies, both internal and external, closed in on him. He was captured by forces aligned with his rivals, and it was then that his fate was sealed. The great leader, once hailed as the savior of the Egba people, was now a prisoner of the very people he had fought for. His death came not in the glorious battle he had once imagined, but in the quiet finality of betrayal. He was killed, likely executed, though the details of his death remain shrouded in mystery. Some reports say that Lisabi was killed by a spear or arrow, while others suggest he died as a result of his injuries after being captured. Despite his death, the memory of Lisabi Ogunbona lived on among the Egba people. His story became a powerful symbol of resistance, resilience, and the harsh realities of leadership. In death, Lisabi was immortalized as a hero, but his tragic end served as a reminder of the fragile nature of power and the human cost of leadership. His legacy, though tainted by betrayal and loss, remained an integral part of Egba history. His resistance against the Oyo Empire and his fight for the independence of the Egba people continue to inspire generations. Lisabi's story, filled with heroism and heartbreak, it serves as a powerful myth that reminds us of the sacrifices made for freedom and the unpredictable nature of leadership. In the end, Lisabi Ogunbona's life and death are a testament to the complex nature of heroism. His rise to power was built on strength, strategy, and a deep sense of loyalty to his people. However, the very same qualities that made him a hero also made him vulnerable to the political currents that would eventually lead to his downfall. His story serves as both a cautionary tale and a powerful legacy for the Egba people and for all those who value independence, justice, and freedom.